If you saw my first video about 5 horse breeds I'd never buy, you already know this isn't about saying certain horses are bad. Some of the horses on this list are absolutely incredible. They're beautiful, they're athletic. Some can outperform almost anything else. But here's the problem. The horse you fall in love with isn't always the horse you should buy. And today I'm going even further. These are 5 more horse breeds I'd personally think twice about buying. And number 1 could look like the bargain of a lifetime, until you see what you're actually taking on. Let's get into it. Number 5, American Paint Horse. The American Paint Horse might be one of the easiest horses to fall in love with. Those incredible patterns, the white face, the blue eyes, the combination of athleticism and that unmistakable paint look. But here's why I'd be careful. If I were buying one, I wouldn't buy it based on color, pedigree, or appearance alone. I'd want to know exactly what's in its genetic panel. The American Paint Horse Association recognizes testing for several inherited conditions, including HYPP, HERDA, GBED, PSSM1, malignant hyperthermia, MYHM, and OLWS, also known as overo-lethal white syndrome, APHA. That doesn't mean every paint horse is unhealthy, far from it. It means the responsible buyer needs to understand that genetics matter. Imagine seeing the perfect paint, beautiful markings, perfect size, amazing movement. You fall in love, and only afterward discover that you never checked the horse's genetic health information. That's exactly what I wouldn't do. For me, the rule would be simple. Don't buy the color. Buy the horse. Get the veterinary examination. Check the history. Check the pedigree. And if the relevant genetic tests are available, know the results before the money changes hands. Because a beautiful coat can make you stop asking questions, and that's dangerous with any horse. Number 4, Gypsy Vanner. Now we're getting into dangerous territory, because the Gypsy Vanner might be one of the most visually addictive horses on this entire list. Massive mane, heavy feathering, powerful body, and that almost fairy tale appearance. You see one walking toward you and your brain immediately says, I want that horse. But I wouldn't buy one blindly. One reason is PSSM1, a genetic muscle disorder that can affect horses. The Gypsy Vanner Horse Society has specifically published information about PSSM1 in the breed and has supported genetic testing. In one study of 100 registered Gypsy Vanners, 24 tested as heterozygous for the PSSM1 variant. Gypsy Vanner Horse Society. Now that doesn't mean 24 out of 100 horses are automatically sick. That's an important distinction. Genetics are more complicated than that. But it does mean I'd want to know the horse's genetic status and understand how that could affect management. And then there's the grooming. That beautiful feathering isn't free. Mud, moisture, and skin problems can turn those gorgeous legs into a management project. So if you want a horse that looks like it stepped out of a fantasy movie, great. But don't forget that you're buying the maintenance that comes with the fantasy. I wouldn't say never buy a Gypsy Vanner. I'd say never buy one just because it looks magical. Number 3, Akhal-Teke. This might be the most controversial horse on the list, because the Akhal-Teke is extraordinary. That metallic-looking coat, the incredibly refined body, the endurance, the intelligence, the athleticism. This is not an ordinary-looking horse, and that's exactly why people can become obsessed with them. But here's my problem. I wouldn't buy an Akhal-Teke if I wanted an easy, low-engagement horse. The breed's own association describes these horses as intelligent and sensitive, with a history built around endurance and athleticism. And sensitivity can be a fantastic quality when the owner knows how to work with it. But if you're inconsistent, if you're heavy-handed, if you don't understand how your horse is reacting to you, that sensitivity can become a serious challenge, An Akhal-Teke isn't something I'd buy simply because the coat looks like gold in the sunlight. I'd want an experienced trainer. I'd want a clear purpose. I'd want to know the individual horse's temperament, and I'd want to know exactly what I'm getting into. Because sometimes the smartest horse in the barn is also the horse that exposes the weaknesses of the person riding it. That's why I'd personally think twice. Not because the Akhal-Teke is a bad breed, actually it's the opposite. It's an incredible breed, but incredible doesn't always mean easy. Number 2, Friesian. Now this one is going to hurt some people, because the Friesian is one of the most beautiful horses on earth. That black coat, that mane, that movement, those huge feathers. A Friesian looks like it belongs in a medieval movie. But here's the part people don't always see. Beauty doesn't erase biology. Veterinary literature has documented that some clinical problems appear to occur at higher rates in Friesians than in other horse populations, with possible genetic components. And genetic testing is a major part of responsible Friesian breeding. For example, the University of California Davis Veterinary Genetics Laboratory offers testing for Friesian dwarfism and hydrocephalus. The Friesian Horse Society also specifically tracks dwarfism and hydrocephalus testing in breeding horses. Again, this does not mean every Friesian is unhealthy. It doesn't. There are plenty of wonderful Friesians, but if I were buying one, I would want the paperwork, I'd want the veterinary examination, I'd want to understand the horse's pedigree and genetic information, and I'd be prepared for the management that comes with a large, heavily feathered horse. Because this is one of those breeds where the thing that makes you fall in love with it can also make ownership more demanding. You don't just buy the look. You buy the responsibility behind the look, and that's something I would never forget. Number 1, off-the-track Thoroughbred. And here is the one I would be most careful about. The Thoroughbred. Now, before anyone gets angry, and I absolutely love what these horses can become. A Thoroughbred coming off the racetrack can turn into an incredible riding horse. But if you're looking at an ex-racehorse and thinking, it's cheap, I'll train it myself, stop. Do your homework first. Research on retired thoroughbreds has found that, compared with controls, they were more likely to have musculoskeletal injuries, gastrointestinal issues, behavioral issues, and hoof or foot problems. And newer research into retraining retired racehorses continues to show that behavioral adaptation during retraining is something that needs to be considered. That's why I wouldn't buy an ex-racehorse based on price. I'd buy based on the individual horse. What's its racing history? How long has it been off the track? Has it been retrained? How does it behave outside the racing environment? What does the veterinarian find? What does the pre-purchase examination show? And perhaps most importantly, does the horse actually fit the rider? Because a thoroughbred isn't automatically a problem. There are amazing thoroughbreds everywhere. But taking a horse from one career and expecting it to immediately understand a completely different life, that's where inexperienced owners can get into trouble. The bargain horse can become the expensive horse. The exciting project can become an overwhelming project. And the horse you thought needed a little training might actually need a completely different program. That's why this is number 1. Not because thoroughbreds are bad, but because buying the wrong thoroughbred can be a very expensive mistake. So there you have it. 5 more horse breeds I'd personally think twice about buying. The American paint horse, the Gypsy Vanner, the Akhal-Teke, the Friesian, and the Thoroughbred. But here's the biggest lesson. There is no universal list of bad horse breeds. A breed isn't automatically good or bad. The individual horse matters. Its health matters. Its temperament matters. Its history matters. And most importantly, the match between the horse and the owner matters. The perfect horse for an experienced rider could be a terrible horse for a beginner, and the horse someone else would never buy could end up being the best horse you've ever owned. So before you buy the horse because it looks amazing in a photo, slow down. Ask questions, get a proper veterinary examination, check the history, and make sure you're buying the horse. No, not just the dream. And if you want part 3, I already have some very controversial breeds in mind.
Tell me in the comments which one you agree with and which one I got wrong, because I know you're going to tell me anyway. If you want part 3, comment which breed I missed.